I'm with Mike Bowen this morning, based here at Jevons Riding Pope, part of Parfit Cresswell Solicitors. Mike has been in service for 37 years as a Chartered Legal Executive. Welcome, Mike. Congratulations on reaching that milestone.
Thank you.
Well done on that. Mike, can you tell me more about the lease reform that you're involved in? And can you tell us a bit more about why it's so important to you?
The lease reform has come about over a period of time because I've got to the stage where things were frustrating me, so I decided that I'd do something about it. So I joined my professional body council, and from that we set up a special reference group to try and work out what we could do about police reform. And we've now got to the stage where we've presented proposals and they're being considered by the Law Commission, which is very encouraging. The reason that it sort of matters to me is that over the last 10-15 years there's been a rise in the number of big managing agents whose fees are getting more and more excessive. Basically, I don't want clients being taken for a ride, and I want to try and reform that area and other areas where we can make improvements to speed and service and cost for consumers. Okay, that all makes sense. And the body you mentioned is SILEX, which stands for Chartered Institute of Legal Executives.
Okay, so and how long has that body been in place now?
It's been in place in that format since 1963. Before that it was the Managing Clerks Association, and it's been in its current format since I think 2007 when we got the Royal Charter.
So obviously you're very keen that these reforms are to the client's benefit in terms of cost saving and efficiency and speed of process.
Absolutely.
So when would you, and I believe you've also lobbied the housing minister as well, which is
housing minister,
which is a great result. Yeah. So how close do you think you are to getting this signed off?
It's going to be quite a long, slow process. The Law Commission's second sifting is September, and if it goes through that, then there'll be consultation that can take anything between a year to 2 years, by which time with a bit of luck government may possibly have finished dealing with some of the Britex legislation and actually have time to do something like this. But we do feel that we can significantly reduce cost and speed up transactions by 2 to 3 weeks for leaseholds. And that's important because the longer a transaction takes, the more likely it is to go abortive. And it's just going to be better for everyone, us as lawyers, consumers, and indeed in some cases managing agents, because we want some changes that will make their life easier as well.
Okay, so in the meantime, up to the point where it becomes law, do you think that there is a way of actually getting into a sort of a more efficient mode of practice? Now you've taken the lid off the can of worms. Do you think do you think there's a chance that you can change things even before it becomes law?
I think that is unlikely because the only way to do it would be by voluntary codes, and most of the managing agents that are a problem will not subscribe to a voluntary code. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good managing agents and they're no problem at all. I had one the other day that was charging a very reasonable fee, did it in 2 weeks, no problem at all. But you know, some of the bigger lawyers are charging £600-700 for the same amount of work and taking 3 or 4 weeks. So it's unlikely, I think, to happen voluntarily.
Okay, so we just have to,
I'm afraid we have to wait.
Have to wait and live with what we've got. Okay, so are there any other issues that you're uncovering in this process, Mike? Is there anything else that you would like to see changing?
there's a whole list of things that we would like to see changed. So the first point is this form that managing agents complete. We'd like to see a standard fee for that form. If we knew that, then I could say to you, if you were selling your flat, give me £200, £300, and we'd know it was a fair amount, and we'd save the time of messing around trying to find what the cost is for each managing agent, because at the moment they're all different. And likewise, we'd like service standards included, so that they have to complete them in two weeks, which is not unreasonable. So that would help consumers greatly. Another thing that would help consumers is a requirement for landlords to insure comprehensively. We as lawyers have to make sure leases comply with lenders' requirements, and that's one of them. And some leases, the older ones in particular, just say the landlord will insure for fire and that's it, and that's not acceptable. So if we did that, there'd be a standardised requirement for insurance, which would be enforceable, and we would save time and money by not having to vary leases, which unfortunately probably about 25% of the leases I look at we have to vary. And there's some other technical changes as well. From the managing agent's point of view, it's not all bad news. We'd like to see the Section 20 notice limit increased so that the bureaucracy they have to go through when they do repairs is much less, because if the fee, the level increased by the line of inflation, they probably wouldn't have to serve Section 20 notices for the vast majority of things they do, only big refurbishments.
And this is going on with the backdrop being that, say, that the reforms are come through as law in say 2 years' time, more, or if it's say even a year, but the increase in leasehold, people taking out leasehold rather than purchasing on freehold is becoming more of a growth factor in the market, property market.
There is a big problem, because a lot of house builders in the last 2 to 3 years have sold what should be freehold houses as leasehold, with very large rents and doubling rents, and they then sell their freehold on somebody else, who then makes a fortune. In fact, one big builder has had to set aside £130 million to deal with this problem, and I think we may find that will have to cease. And in fact, some lenders are already saying they won't accept new leases with those types of terms. So that type of abuse, I think, will cease quicker, mainly because the lenders will drive that rather than the builders seeing sense necessarily.
Yes, I can imagine that, and that might be a very welcome situation in the marketplace as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment there's about 230,000 leasehold transactions done a year, and that is a reasonable number, but you have to bear in mind that quite often they're at the beginning of the chain, and it can hold up the rest of the chain. So if we can get some of these changes through that makes life better and quicker, we potentially have the ability to impact, hundreds of thousands of transactions a year, possibly up to 1 million. And it also fits with the government's due to issue a call for evidence on the conveyancing process to get speed into the marketplace, and so it fits with what the government wants. It's just, I think, a question of timing from a Britex point of view as to when it will happen.
Yes, I can imagine that's probably got in the way a little bit.
Just a bit.
Okay, well, good luck with that process, Mike, and let's talk again when the green light is on.
I may possibly have retired, but hopefully it will be within the next 5 years.
Well, all the best of that. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.